Three. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the edition of the Vicktory Life Legacy Spotlight. I'm your host, owner, and founder of Vicktory Life LLC, Dwight Vick. And today, in honor of Mental Health Awareness Month, I have three wonderful women that are joining in the show. Three women I had the privilege and honor of meeting and connecting with a handful of months ago through my longtime brother, friend, and teammate, Ken Oxendine. And I have these three women on the show to talk about mental health, their role in helping treat the community, empowering others, inspiring others. Three women I also worked with recently when I was down in Richmond, Chesterfield area. You may have saw me post about it when I was down there when we did the intro Spring into Wellness event. So it was a great event. So I had to get you ladies on. So today I have Amanda Whitlow, Catherine Ogletree, and Kiana Jones on the show. Kiana, welcome to the show. Catherine, welcome to the show. And Amanda, welcome to the show. Let's start with you, Kiana. I'm going to go around each one, as I mentioned. Tell us how long you've been in the field, what your role is, and what you're currently doing.
So actually today makes 21 years ago I graduated from Virginia Union University. So I have been in the field in some way, shape, or form for about 20 years. I'm currently a mental health support specialist with Chesterfield County Public Schools. This is my fourth school year in that role. Prior to that, I was an elementary school counselor in Henrico, Virginia. Prior to that, I did a bunch of community work. I've pretty much run the gamut of it: intensive in-home day treatment, group homes, nonprofits. So I've done quite a bit of work. So yes, we are at about 20 years. I am currently in a doctoral program for leadership. So a lot of things going on, but super excited about mental health and this opportunity to talk about it.
And you know what? Let me just say this. I'm super excited to have you on, as well as you other two, but to be in a doctorate program, a program that I started and I've taken a break. So you're inspiring me right now to go back and finish it because it's been on hold for quite some time. So I know you're busy. And how close is you being done?
So it is a 3-year program, and I just completed year one. I have one more year of coursework, and then the third year is a capstone year. So it's actually dissertation and practice. So we will actually be doing some research and some work, but it is done in a team. So yes, so 2 years.
That's great. I love it. And people always ask me why I don't want to get my PhD. I'll be honest, the first thought I had is I like the sound Dr. Vick had. Dr. Vick just sounded really cool. But on a serious note, I eventually want to teach. But congratulations to you and thank you for joining the show. Catherine, tell us a little bit about how long you've been in the field, what you got going on, who are you, what you do.
Hello. Thank you for having me. Very excited. 25 years. I have been in the education field / counseling field. So I did alternative ed for about 5 years, teaching case management, working with the really at-risk youth when they weren't allowed to be in school, and making sure that they could keep going with their education. And social emotional learning was very lacking. So I did that work while I was getting my master's in education and counseling. And then I started working in Chesterfield County schools as a school counselor. I did that for 13 years while I also worked on my LPC. And then I have been in this role as a mental health support specialist for the last 8 years. I was the first specialist in Chesterfield County, and then it's grown to the 3 that you see on the screen. I also own Pure Counseling and Consulting and do private practice on the side, as well as LPC supervision.
I don't even know how you both have time. You three in general have time to even be on today. It's a lot. And we haven't even gotten to Amanda yet. Well, thank you for joining the show. And thank you for what you do. No, I mean, that's a lot. Both you and Kiera have a lot going on. All right, Amanda, it is your turn. Can you top that? What you got going on?
Can you top that? Let's see.
I'm gonna try. So I'm the baby of the group. I have 10 years of experience. May 2nd actually marked my 10-year graduation from the Virginia State University, where I also currently serve as an adjunct professor in the social work department. This is my 6th year doing that. So 4 years after leaving, I was returning as an adjunct professor. What an honor. But I am also a licensed clinical social worker by trade. I provide supervision for supervisees in social work in the state of Virginia. Currently, I'm licensed in Virginia and exploring other states to become licensed in as well. I own Concrete Roses Counseling and Consulting, where I provide mental health therapy services. I'm currently virtual and again licensed in the state of Virginia. So if you live in Virginia, you can definitely seek out services. But additionally, I also do some consulting through completing intake assessments with private practices for ensuring different clients are able to connect to mental health resources in the community. And then somehow, some way, I'm a wife, daughter, friend, all the things. So I'm trying. And I think I get a couple hours of sleep in between.
I love it. Well, thank you as well for joining the show. And thank you, all three of you women, you ladies, for all the things you're doing in the community. It's a lot, and it takes a village. And speaking of that, I was part of your village when I came down a week ago, Thursday, in Chesterfield, to be part of that great event, Spring into Wellness. And I tell you, it was just great for me to talk. I was one of your 3 keynote speakers that was there. The energy was great. Shout out to the DJ, by the way.
Yeah.
I got to get that playlist. I don't know that guy.
He's good.
He's good. That energy was good. It was a great environment. And I was telling our mutual friend and colleague, Ken Oxendine, who I've known since 1993, 94, that, we got to keep doing stuff like this. I was so impressed with how organized it was, the energy, the vendors. I went around. Some of them I was familiar with just because, I've been doing this for 30 years. But I want to talk today about, finding solutions, resources, the challenges we're all facing, the current state of mental health. As I mentioned to start the show, this is Mental Health Awareness Month. I've always felt that mental health was something after I was done playing college and pro ball I really wanted to do, which I'm living my passion and my purpose, as all 3 of you women are. However, I'm just going to say this. I'm going to start the show off with this, and we're going to dive into it. I felt like since COVID, since 2020, and I said this to my wife, I said this to other colleagues, I've spoken about this at other events. I feel like mental health was always a challenge, but I feel like there's 2 things going on right now. I feel like since 2020, we heard so much about COVID and the pandemic, but I feel like since 2020, we have a mental health epidemic. I feel like we have so we're on the same page. I just feel like we have, I get so many calls and referrals. We have so many young men and young women of all ethnic groups and nationalities, no matter what demographic, who are in need. I don't know what happened. I don't have the underlying reason, but this is one reason why I have you all on here today, is to talk about it, because I get views, I get conversations going, but not just to talk about it, but to give insight on what to do and how we're helping so the stigma can continue to be addressed. So, I don't know who wants to go first, but let's just dive into what you're seeing and the challenges currently as you provide your services to the community. I see you smiling, Kiana, so let's go with you. I like that smile. I was going to say whoever wants to go, but Kiana, I can tell you're ready to go. So what are your thoughts on that?
I was thinking, I am totally in agreement with what you're saying. I feel like mental health has always been an issue, but it was secluded. There were so many other things that people can do, interact with, and all of those things to avoid dealing with it. Mm-hmm. But then you have the pandemic when we are isolated and quarantined and can't engage in all those things, that it was evident and it came out, and people who lacked social skills and coping skills, you saw that. And then we see the things that happened during the pandemic with kids being at home and not, interacting with others. And then what we see is an increase of behaviors and avoiding behaviors and all these things once they return to school. So I definitely agree, but I also think that life allows us to avoid, like staying busy, doing all the things, interacting, going bowling. Like people get to keep themselves busy, right? And then you don't have to deal with it. But COVID made everybody face like their reality. And what is true, what is in you, you could not hide, you could not do other things. Like you had to deal with it. And, you know, I like to say, if you don't deal with something, it'll deal with you. And I think during COVID, things were dealing with people and kind of coming up and they didn't know what to do or how to handle it.
Yeah. Absolutely. I also think that the other piece to that is that you had situations where, you know, for a lot of kids, school and outside the home was their safe place. Out and going to school was their place to connect with people who cared about them and listened to them and heard them and supported them. And that all got taken away, or a sport or whatever. And that all got taken away. And if you had a tumultuous home life and you're submerged in that 24/7 and get no break, then that's going to wear on your mental health more than it already was. I also think, on top of what Kiana said, I think that the adults, they didn't know what to do. And so, you know, were they oversharing their anxiety with their kids and it, you know, matriculated, and or were they avoidant? Did they shut down? I'm also thinking about families who had those critical need workers that were still going out into the world, and so they had to maybe leave their kids home to themselves, to kind of fend for themselves, because they still had to go to work to keep the house, keep the apartment, keep food, all of those things. And so there's varying degrees as to what was happening that fueled the mental health need even more.
If I could add to that, coming from that social work lens, I'm a big fan of the person and environment theory, and I definitely believe that the times that we are in, it affects all of us in some capacity, whether you're an adult, a child, a baby, what have you. But I definitely think that as we continue to push normalizing mental health and mental health awareness and getting support, I definitely will applaud the people, you know, now seeking help where it's not as much as a stigma. There's still a stigma, but not as large of a stigma. And so people are coming out, you know, instead of hiding behind their pain and suffering in silence, they're seeking the support. And for me, it's what are we doing as a nation to provide the resources to those now seeking that support? In addition to that, stress levels. I mean, COVID, yes, 5 years ago. However, we are still dealing with the remnants of COVID, the effects, the after effects. The resources are gone. Things are lifted. Protective factors are lifted, where now people are having to come back out and face reality of how am I going to pay these bills that were kind of put on pause when the pandemic was, you know, live and in the forefront of things. Now the economy, how am I going to be able to survive and make ends meet? Do I have to choose between paying the bills or getting food? Are there resources available to me, and am I in that range where I can even qualify for even my child to be able to get additional resources, to have a place to go, to engage with others in a positive way, whether that's camps, after school programs, what have you. While those things are still existent, a lot of people just don't qualify. They can't afford it out of pocket and they don't qualify for the assistance. So what happens to that lost population of people who still need the support, but they're balancing the stress of life, trying to keep a roof over their head, food on the table, and also address their mental health needs in the best way that they know.
Absolutely. Wow. Let me just say this. I'm so glad. I thank God for connecting with you three ladies because I believe in having colleagues that have the same mission and purpose and insight. You both, all three of y'all, excuse me, all have good insight into what's going on, the pulse of the community, and as you mentioned, Amanda, the nation, and our role as community providers, but also what the nation and the governing body has involved in regards to being aware and giving us resources. With that being said, though, and I pose this next question to this panel, anyone can go first. What trends are you seeing? What trends are you seeing? Let me just elaborate on that. One thing I saw post-COVID was, because I specialize with teens, but I also work with families and I work with individuals, adults, young adults, whatever. But with my teen population, the biggest population I serve, I saw trends currently and even post-COVID where school phobia, anxiety, and depression has increased. Where I see a lot of clients who lack motivation or they want to remain isolated, where they just are gaming or refraining from interacting, even with family members, more time in their room. But again, that's a trend I'm seeing here in Prince William and Fairfax County in Northern Virginia, where I serve. What other trends are you seeing? Anybody can go in your practice publicly and your private practice. What trends are you seeing?
I think they're behind the curve socially, emotionally. I think that kids are, they might be in, let's say, 7th grade, but their social emotional responses and understanding are still in elementary school because they missed that cognitive development time where you learn some of those social emotional connections at that particular time in your development, right? So we have a lot of kids who are maybe in elementary school, but they're acting more like they're 3 and 4 years old because when they were 3 and 4 years old, they didn't have the support to be redirected and learn. They weren't in a social situation. I mean, even my own, my youngest is 8. COVID was 3 and 4 for her. She learned her coping skills in a way different way than my other kids did when they were 3 and 4. Because she wasn't going to preschool every day and interacting with other kids her age. She was interacting with everybody that was older than her. But when she had her big 3 and 4-year-old feelings, we managed it way differently because there were so many different things going on, and we as the adults were even managing things differently. So I think that kids are not on level, and I think that that's frustrating for the adults. Like, you're 14. Why aren't you acting like you're 14 a little bit, right? Instead of having some understanding. And I think, like what you said at the beginning of, do we even really know what we're dealing with? We're not going to really know what we're dealing with for probably another decade. Like, the people that study these things and the people that give us those longitudinal effects of social dynamics and epidemics and pandemics and things like that, I mean, they need all of that information, and 5 years isn't really that long when it comes down to it. And so we're not going to know really until those littles are 20 something, right? To see that developmentally they're not on course with people before the pandemic because of what they experienced. I know that they learned a lot from the pandemic from 1920, but think of all the things that weren't around in 1920. The technology, the resources, the accessibility, the other things. So sure, they learned some things from that, but the dynamic of our society is so different 100 years later, we really didn't learn anything.
If I could add, I think technology as well, that instant gratification that kids are getting, where the resilience factor is diminishing at a very rapid pace, where our kids are struggling. But I would also speak to, and might step on some toes with this one, this generation of parenting. I think we're in a generation of parents who are trying their best, but they're trying to do everything an opposite way of how they were raised. And in that process of that, they lose out on the value of the things that the lessons. Yes, some stuff we can handle in different ways, some stuff we can address in different ways, but we can't trash the entire experience of our upbringing because we are missing crucial pieces to pass down to our youth now. Being afraid to address your kids, being afraid to have reasonable consequences for your children. Children are parenting themselves, and a lot of times they're parenting their parents in this generation because parents are trying to recover. Students are learning about resources and tools that maybe their parents have never been introduced to. So I think that combination as well, where good intentions. Parents are humans too, and I'm a big proponent of that. Back up off our parents a little bit. They're trying. However, we can't erase every lesson that we just didn't like when we were little because they had value to them in some capacity. Maybe we tweak it, but we don't have to trash everything. Kids these days, they struggle because of that.
Yeah. Let me just say, Amanda, you guys can't see, but anytime I have guests on, especially guests like y'all, I take notes because I'm learning too. And you guys can't see my notes because that's a bar, that's a reel right there, that's a clip. And number two, we might need to do a part two with this panel because you just opened up. I'm serious because I'm sitting here thinking, I have my notes and my questions. Now I'm like, the parental piece is on point. Quick story, and I want to hear from you, Kiana. But I
don't know if you want to hear from me on this.
Yeah, no, I definitely do. I want this authentic conversation. I was talking to one of my kids. I have 3 kids, and one of my daughters. I have 2 daughters, one son. My 21-year-old. When she was in high school, I was just telling her about some of the things I was doing during the day because she's studying sports psychology at ODU, and she was just like, you have to remind parents to tell them to make sure their kids take their meds and take their phone and all the different. I'm like, yeah, parent coaching is a big component of what I do. And a lot of times it just comes down to teaching them how to hold their child accountable and not refrain from, avoiding the uncomfortable conversations that's going to benefit them in the long run. So, I mean, Amanda, that was a bar, as the kids say. That was a bar. I mean, go ahead.
Again, I'm teaming with parents at the same time. Burnout. Do we live in a society that allows the time, the resources, the provision to be able to parent? You're giving your kids scraps by the time you get home from work and manage your own stress and all those things. It's hard to show up. I'm not a parent and I don't have nothing to give at the end of the day but sleep.
Oh my gosh. Oh, go ahead, Kiana. Because no, you're right. I mean, my wife talked to me about that during COVID. She was burnt out. She hit the wall because she was doing her job. Because when you are telecommuting and working from home, the businesses were giving her more work because they assumed because she was at home. And then, of course, I was working in the field, even though we were quarantined. I still had to go out and see clients in the field. And on top of it, she was trying to balance that. And you had 3 kids at home that couldn't leave, that no longer had volleyball, church, basketball practice, whatever it was. And they also had to do schoolwork once Virginia started back that fall in 2020. You've been patiently waiting. Kiana, go ahead.
No,
Go ahead.
I don't mind. My response may be very controversial.
Okay,
Catherine's like, no, she don't need to respond. Okay, so I am. I would say. Let me first say, I have a 19, almost 20-year-old college sophomore. She attends University of Connecticut, the UConn.
Nice.
And so, to Amanda's point, when she spoke about not erasing all the lessons, for me, I felt like in raising my child, it was my job to give her what I didn't have. Like, I kept the lessons, but then I taught her the things that nobody taught me, right? Because if you don't learn them at home, life is going to teach you either way. And so I always would tell her, I love you. You're loved here. So learn the lesson here because the world really doesn't care much about you. In my work as an elementary school counselor, and even now I tell people kids need social skills, coping skills, and life skills, right? And so when we talk about mental health, those are the things that they're missing. Not that, and I'm not negating like the chemical imbalances and different things that come along with some of the diagnosis, but your child needs to know how to cope if the answer is no. If you don't teach them that at home, then how are they going to respond when a job says no to something? No, you can't get this PTO, no to this, no to that. They spaz out, they freak out, they respond in ways that the emotions are way too big for the actual event, right? So life skills, coping skills, and social skills are what kids need. Accountability is a real thing. Again, a struggle for me as an elementary counselor was being in a school where it was low SES, a lot of kids who looked like me, and we want to be trauma informed, yes. But trauma informed does not mean no accountability and don't hold people responsible for their actions, right? And so when I have white people standing up in front of me, not Catherine, I'm just saying, like people who don't understand the struggle that we brown people face when you're saying, oh, you need to respond this way when this child acts like this. My question is, how is the police officer going to respond when they ask them to do something and they tell them no?
Right.
What happens then? The officer is not saying, oh, do you have trauma or what's your A scores? That's not what they're asking, right? And so I think that basic skills that need to be taught, like follow directions, right? Don't have your kids thinking, especially your sons, but none of them, no kids thinking, oh, you don't have to listen to them if you don't like them. Like, it's so many things that we deal with in schools, but when you go out, like home and school is where they spend most of their time. That's where they learn their foundation, right? Your child should be able to follow a basic direction if it's to keep them safe, without asking questions, without, yapping back, talking back, all of that stuff. Like if I say, Catherine, stop, Catherine should be able to stop, because what if I call for her and there's a car coming and she don't listen because she don't have to listen to me, right? It's the basic things that people don't think about. But I always would tell parents, like, go by the White House. Go look at all those black and brown faces on the fence of all the people who died for whatever reason at the hands of police or whatever, right? Your child needs to know how to follow basic directions. Like A score, officers are not asking any of those people. They didn't ask them about their A scores and why they're not complying with authority from a previous experience or whatever the case may be. So it's a soapbox for me. I definitely am like, responsibility and accountability are missing, unfortunately. And I think to Amanda's point, this generation of parenting, like I don't get the gentle parenting thing. I'm lying. I don't get it because parenting is not a popularity contest. It is our job, and I definitely go by train up a child. It is our job to do that. It is our job as parents to teach our children things, the lessons that they need to know, whatever that may look like for one's beliefs, culture, or whatever. But it's our job as parents. And so to your point, Vic, like the parent coaching piece is important because it's important to teach them. It's important to advocate for them. All of those things are important. And unfortunately, it is a large missing component of society today, where it's like me and my child is friends. I tell my daughter to this day, I'm not your friend, right? I'm not trying to be your friend. I'm gonna hold you accountable. We can kiki and and all of that, but it's a time and a place for everything.
Yes, listen, boy, I tell you what, I done messed around and got a great panel. Let me tell you this. Y'all are all correct in regards to how I feel about the trends and the issues. Speaking of that, I want to say this, not say this, but ask you three this, because you all work together, right? And then you also have your same practices. So this is the two-part question.
Oh,
How do you support each other in regards to managing self-care in two treatment team? Because the truth of the matter is this, and we're being real, and I love when my guests get real, like all three of y'all are getting real. And the viewers, when this post, as they watch this, I'm sure people are like, amen, watching this, right? But now let's talk about a very difficult subject that is very real. I spoke to Newport News, the Department of Family Services, DSS, some regions and counties call it, in February of, what was it, last year? Yeah, it was last year. It feels like it was recently, I don't know, but it was their community social work day, and it was over 300 participants, people that worked in Title 4E, foster care, adoption, everybody, AIDS, the social worker director there. And I said this to them, and I remember I was doing my notes and kind of what I want to touch on. I'm a big movie guy, and I said, man, we as clinicians and social workers and therapists and the things that we do in the human service and social service field, we go, whether it's in the schools as mental health support workers, we go into communities, the schools, IEP meetings, courtrooms, with nothing but our skill set, a work bag, a manila folder, and our cell phone. And we're charged with motivating people to improve their sleep hygiene, their personal hygiene, take their meds, get them to appointments, coach them, model for them, advocate. You got to be a superhero. But a lot of times there's so much placed on our shoulders because it's the gift and the curse. You three, I know, because I did my research and I talked to some people when I was walking around after I was done speaking. You three are held in a very high regard. So what that means, the gift is you're going to get more referrals, more work, more phone calls, more emails, more I need you, Amanda, I need you to come here, and you got your family, your private practice. How in the world do you three support each other? And on a personal level, how do you manage it? Because this has to be very difficult. I've been in the field for 30 years, and some days I have to pull over. For me, my go-to is my prayer, my faith. I have to stay prayed up. I see so much trauma from 8 a.m. till 9 p.m. And, I'm on call. This is my work cell, so I get calls sometimes overnight. But I have different supports, including my own therapist, she was my supervisor when I got my license, Dr. Jefferson. But that's Dwight Vick. Who wants to answer this question first? Go ahead.
Kiana really wants to go because she's raising her hand.
Let her go.
So this is something new. I will say we have, and I'm saying this because I have worked in, I want to say this because I have worked in environments where it was not the healthiest. But our team of three is thebomb.com. Right. So let me say that the support that we offer to each other is top tier. I don't even really have the words to say it. We have become a family, the three of us. And I think that is how we make it through because our job is hard, right? We respond on top of like dealing with threat assessments and things like that. We respond anytime there's a critical incident in Chesterfield County. So anytime a staff passes away, a student dies, any of those things, our team is responding. But we do things like, I'm gonna say this because it's fun. Like for Catherine's birthday, me and Amanda gave her to get like a weekend getaway, and we went and babysat her 4 kids. Okay.
Oh.
So we went. Her husband got to go away. We went and stayed in her house. We babysat her kids for the weekend. She didn't have no worries. Or Amanda, I needed something for my church, and Amanda, like top tier, like just came and supported. We support each other like none other. Right. This is my 4th year in this position, my 4th school year, and I had, we deal with a lot of deaths, and I think one year from like January to April, we had maybe like 9 or 10 deaths. Like it was like we had one school that had 2 deaths in January and 2 deaths in April, right? So we had dealt with a lot of deaths, and then on top of us all having personal stuff, and I kept saying, I'm gonna get a therapist, I'm gonna get a therapist, I'm gonna get a therapist. Well, the reality is they will hold me accountable. I'm the one that talks junk a little bit. And so I think last year I was like, I'm going to do it. Because one of the things we said we was prioritizing this year was self-care. And so I kept saying, and I said, listen, y'all both got one reminder You're not going to bug me. You got one reminder each. So y'all better calculate when you're going to ask, right? So I would proactively be like, I know I need to get it. Well, February, reality hit. I had stuff going on every level of my life. And I was like, I got to do this. Amanda looked at me and was like, you're not coming to work tomorrow. Chesterfield will live. And I was like, okay. And she texted me like 3 or 4 therapists, right? I had prayed, I ain't gonna lie, I had prayed the week before. I was like, Lord, help Amanda to find me a therapist. Because for me, it was overwhelming. And that was my transparency with myself and my honesty. Mm-hmm. And she sent me the therapist. And from February to now, I have my weekly set appointment for myself with my therapist that I keep. But big picture self-care, I remember during COVID, doing the PD for staff, for the elementary school counselors. And I remember telling them, you have to take time. You can't make time. People say, oh, I'm going to make time. You can't make time. Like, my beliefs are God is the creator of time, right? So it's not mine to make. But you have to take time for yourself. And at the end of the day, if you don't, it'll be forced, right? And so I think it's important. I realize how important it is now more than ever. Like, it's important to carve out and schedule and do all the things. And I'm learning, I'm Wednesday's gonna be my Sabbath. Guess what? After work on Wednesdays, I'm not gonna do anything. I'm gonna put my work phone on D&D. I'm not gonna do anything, but I need that rest, right? Because we're so used to going, women, as a woman, as a mother, as a Black woman, it's like the weight is on you and you're expected to just keep going and keep thriving through whatever you're going through. And that comes.
And I think we need to stop normalizing that. Like,
yes.
So for me,
stop normalizing it.
Stop normalizing the Energizer Bunny mentality that you just keep going until something makes you stop. You get
the battery dies.
All of the things happen, and then you're taking time, but you're not really taking time because you're recovering physically because you drained yourself emotionally and mentally. So I would say, to answer the first question about the team piece, I would say there's no ego. And I would say that there is unwavering and unconditional love existing because we all bring something to the table. We all have a capacity for a skill. We all know who has a strength in a space and how they can help. We consult with each other, but we also check each other. Like,
yes.
I mean, I will come in and say, all right, I'm going to say something. I know y'all going to look at me sideways, but hear the whole thing before you start jumping in on top of me.
I love it. Accountability. Thank you.
Right. But it's also like the accountability is backed by that place of love. Like, I'm not telling you because I want to be a jerk about it and I want to show you how smart I am or how much more I know. It's out of like, you're better than this, or take a hot minute because you're looking at it from something that either triggers you or maybe you don't like that other professional that you're having to dive in to solve a problem with about a kid or whatever the dynamic is. I think because we work so closely together, we've learned those nuances about each other. So we know, like, okay, this isn't going to work for Amanda because so somebody else needs to manage the situation. Or all 3 of us need to show up. Even though it's just Kiana school, all 3 of us need to show up to show the unity of support, but also because Kiana's already gone in there 4 times on her own trying to help these people wrap their mind about what's not working and they're not listening. So when the 3 of us show up, it creates another dynamic and opportunity for those schools to say, okay, they're really pouring the resource into us from that capacity. But from the self-care space, I think modeling, right? Model what you say. I'm not going to tell you to take a day or take a breath or do something that's good for you and not do it myself. Like, that's hypocritical. So owning where your own mental health is. I see a therapist. My kids go to therapy. You need mental health. Like, we need to stop normalizing that everything's fine and we can manage it. Sometimes you can't manage it. Sometimes you can't manage it. And I think that we all come into our space sometimes and saying, like, man, I'm really empty. So I am going to do to this level because that is all I am capable of bringing to the table today. And my plan is to do XYZ to reset and refill so that I'm present. For me personally, I think I've had to struggle with stop feeling guilty for taking my time. Like, because I do what something, I do what I do because I want to help. I do what I do because I genuinely care about others and I want them to be the best version of themselves and I want to help them get to that place. But that doesn't mean I have to be on 24/7, 150%. It does mean I can be unavailable, and it does mean that I can step back and let someone else take care of it, or I can put my phone on Do Not Disturb and I can answer it later, or someone else will answer it for me. Like, it's okay to do that, and that doesn't mean I'm not good at what I do. And that's what I used to associate. Like, if I'm not present, then people think I'm not good at what I do.
All right. Echoing everything they said. This is my favorite question so far, honestly. I also have a therapist. Shout out to Bianca Brown, LPC, Richmond, Virginia. Look her up. And then my first therapist, Erica Parker, GOAT, Guru. Love those two women down. They have definitely changed my life. So therapy, normalizing therapy, and I'm not embarrassed. Doctors need doctors, therapists need therapists. Normalize it. Mm-hmm. Don't care what you think about it. Whatever. It doesn't make me less than. I go get the help that I need and deserve. Okay? Mm-hmm. 2, I have 3 things when it comes to this job. 1, and I always say this, we were never built to be 24-hour entities as individual people. So, with that in mind, I'm never going to force myself to be, and you're never going to bully me in a position to where you make me feel like I have to be. That's been clear since I got here. 2, you should never have to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Figure out a way where everybody can stay warm, but nobody has to get burned in the midst of it, okay? 3, we as individual people are not built to reconstruct an entire system as large as the system that we work in. Our county has 68 different schools, and there are 3 of us. 3.
What?
Yes.
Oh
and
my
so,
gosh. Hold on. What?
Yes.
I knew wait a minute. I knew Chesterfield was big, but goodness gracious. I'm sorry. Go ahead. That you're making a great point. You caught me. Rarely do I caught off guard. That is a lot of schools. And it's 3 of y'all.
Yeah. And so I think I have definitely coming in out of the 3 of us, I was the last to come into this position. Again, this is my 3rd school year. I definitely feel like I came in with a different lens for these ladies of like, I care, but after a certain hour, I gotta care tomorrow and not today. Okay? And so we're never going to be large enough. We're never going to have enough energy to break every system down and rebuild it. Of course, this is a multidisciplinary job, honestly. Everybody's not coming from a mental health background. Everybody's not coming from a counseling background, social work, any of that. Yes, we're special. We're the Charlie's Angels. But sometimes the reality is, we're going to be sitting on the opposite side of the table as some people that we feel like should maybe be on the same side. And it's not my job to fight night and day by myself to rebuild, reconstruct. Sometimes you got to let the leaks leak.
Yeah.
so that people will actually know a leak is there. And so that's my 2 cents. Psychological safety within this team. I love this team down. We can say what we need to say. Sometimes we can say what we need to say with body language and facial expressions and no words ever spoken. And it is the eyebrow raise of leave me the hell alone. Back up, get my spec. I'll get with you in a minute type of thing. Or it's the eyebrow raise of you better get them. You better reply before I do.
Yeah.
Kiana has an album of pictures. She always waits to tell me stuff like really these people are doing this. She waits to tell me until she can take a picture of my face because she likes my facial response before I have words to share.
Yesterday, Kiana and I were joking with Catherine in the group chat. Catherine is in a very important meeting, and we are like, have fun at your meeting, Catherine. But
all kinds of gifs and memes and everything. I had to turn my phone off because I was like, I'm going to push one of these by accident and they're going to make a noise or something. I was like, I got to look at this later.
And also, I can't wait to get cursed out by Ogletree when she sees me. It was just the time, but that's the fun we have. It's balance and boundaries, honestly.
Absolutely.
I want to add something. I want to add two things. One is Amanda is of a different generation, right? And so she definitely helped to bring, like, just speaking to what she said earlier about the parenting, like, you don't throw everything away. She has definitely brought a different, like, Catherine been in Chesterfield for 20 years, and Amanda, like, girl, like, it's time, like, what you waiting on type of, like, you know, the newer generation will progress. They're going to just keep going. So I think self-care has been much better since she's been on the team, because it's like, take the day, like, you got the time, like, take the day, right?
I'm not doing that.
And so she does bring that to the team. But the second thing is, I wanted to say something that hopefully can resonate with somebody, because it resonated with me when I started as an elementary school counselor. My then director, Regina Brown, was telling us, she said, don't, if you want to go to a training, if you want to do this, if you need to take time, do it. She was like, because if something happened to you, your job will be posted before your obituary. And so that helped me to make decisions that were more so for me than for a company or a job from that point on. Like, if I need to leave, if I need to, you know, whatever the case may be. And I was like, dang, you got a point. She said, your job will be posted before your obituary is. So that's just something to leave. Like, when we're talking about self-care, like, take care of yourself. Like, don't put your job over yourself. So that's
Listen, I can tell you three ladies this. Y'all, I feel the energy and the chemistry. It's present even in this episode. Like I just like how you all feed off each other. Even in this episode, the inside jokes and the laughs and the smiles. I appreciate it. And I also want to say, on behalf of people in this field, I appreciate you, Kiana and Amanda, for it was you two that volunteered to help Catherine out and babysit her kids, right? And when she went on a vacation with your husband, Catherine, was that what?
It was really it was more of a staycation. They pretty much kicked me out of my house.
I mean,
like,
that's great.
You know, we have 4 kids, and so we're in it all the time. They've all, you know, I personally. They always comment on, like, how much we show up for our kids. Because I have a belief of, I brought these children into the world, so I am not going to make any of my children feel like their dreams or goals or needs or even their wants are going to have to wait just because of the order they were born in, right? Like, my oldest doesn't get any more than my youngest or the 2 in the middle. So we are always on a field. We are always going somewhere, and they laugh at me because they're like, what you doing tonight? I'm like, what do you think I'm doing tonight? Somebody's got to practice. Somebody's got a game. Somebody's got a concert. Somebody's got a something. And they just acknowledged on their own that, you know, my husband and I just hadn't had time to ourselves for more than like, hey, we ran out and got dinner with each other for an hour. So my birthday present was, we're coming over. You pick the weekend, or we'll pick it for you, and we will take care of the kids. And they did. The kids had stuff to do, and they got them where they needed to be. And that it sort of helped me like remember that my kids are learning and they know stuff, because they told them where to go. They knew how to get their uniforms ready, like all the things. So, and we just went to another part of town. We stayed in Richmond. We just went to another part of town and stayed in a hotel and just walked, just spent time together. And the only part was, I have 2 dogs and they are not fans of dogs. So they were like, the boys have got to take care of the dogs, because we're not touching the dogs. We're not feeding the dogs. We're not petting the dogs.
No, the only reason I was happy to hear that, and this is a podcast episode I've had on hold for 3 years. It stemmed from a conversation, a very heartfelt conversation I had with my wife in 2020 when she was burnt out from working in corporate America and parenting 3 kids, and the work-life balance that many times women experience different from men. He gave me a lot of insight, and I'm self-aware and I feel like I'm aware, but sometimes I miss things. And the reason why I wanted to highlight that is part of thanking Kiana and Amanda is because it was imperative that they did that, and you and your husband are allowed to do that, to allow yourself to just have that quality time. Because I have a podcast, as I mentioned, I'm sitting on. It's called Decision Making Fatigue, Women in Corporate America. And decision-making fatigue is a real thing. I learned from my wife, Shanice. We've been married 24 years coming in June 22nd, 28 years together. So, yeah, thank you. And I'm always learning. I'm always looking to learn. I'm in a female-dominated profession, so I'm listening and learning. So I thought that was critical, because that's something sometimes you have to have not just colleagues, but friends, sisters that will look out for you and say, hey, you know what, y'all go hang out. That, to me, I've never heard of anything like that. I've seen people, take you to lunch or happy hour or go get some
Right.
Would like to say, y'all go, and especially them not being dog people.
No, I know. Yeah, they have to.
Yeah.
And it took a layer of trust, and that speaks back to the team dynamic that we have of, being able to, 1, acknowledge it, 2, feel comfortable and safe enough to even bring it to Catherine. Because we bought it to her at a time where my girl's cup was getting a little low, honestly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you deserve, no. And so, of course, she had to schedule, which she's not lying about them. Catherine's schedule is packed out through summer, I'm sure. But so she had to find the time and all the things, but bringing it to her allowed her to make the time. And take the time as well. And so it takes that layer of just safety again, that trust. And now, we did our trial run, and then came a time where it was a scheduling emergency. And I'm like, girl, I'll come over. It's fine. And Catherine was able to go away again to support one of her children, where her and her husband couldn't be 5 places at one time. And that's the beauty of it. There was a time over spring break where I'm like, what my girls doing over spring break? I went and got the girls, and we went and got sushi. These are Catherine's 2 girls. And so we got sushi, and it costs nothing.
Yes.
That's the thing. It costs nothing to just show up for people genuinely. It doesn't have to be through money. It could just be through simple acts of kindness and things of that nature. And so it's a blessing. It's an honor to be able to do that and be able to be a person who can be trusted to do that as well, and especially in today's times.
Yeah.
Well, let me break what was well said, and let me ask you, ladies, this. We're all, professionals. It's Mental Health Awareness Month, and I feel like every month is Mental Health Awareness Month. But with that being said, what professional and personal life lessons have you learned in your journey so far? And what I'm referring to is, I've worked in the Office of Criminal Justice. I worked as a social worker in foster care adoption. I worked at Lesterfield Shelter, a group home, predispositional, Molineux Shelter in Manassas, predispositional for kids awaiting placements, truancy issues. I worked everywhere, residential. I worked everywhere except probation. Private practice, public sector, community service board, substance abuse therapist in the schools. I worked in DC and Southeast DC. So I'm 30 plus years in the game, and there's not 1 year where I don't learn anything about myself as a colleague. I mean, as a practitioner, a clinician, or even mistakes or poor choices I made or missed opportunities. I focus sometimes more on that because with my athletic background, it's like you remember your losses and you learn from your losses more than your wins. You can learn from both, but that's just my journey. In your journey, any one of you can start off with this answer. What have you learned? What challenge have you overcome or a situation? You don't have to give a name of a case, but then you can say, in 2016 I went through this, and I really learned something about myself, because I feel like that's what makes us all great, is the life lessons, personal and professional. You already kind of talked on personal about that balance and teamwork, but what about situation you learn from? Because I feel like we're always learning. Who wants to take that on first?
I'll go first. In honor of my late mother, because it's so funny. She always used to say this to my sister and I, and this can sum up both aspects, personal or professional. You can't expect a you out of others. Show up as you just because, but you can't expect a you out of others. And I say that in all realms of the sense of the fact of people come from all different backgrounds. They're not going to think like you. They're not going to choose all the things that you necessarily choose or anything of that nature, but learn from it and still show up as you. Bring what you have to the table. Your gift is just as important, but everybody doesn't have the same mindset, gifts, perspectives, and that's okay.
Well said. Anyone else?
I think the biggest thing, and I'm still working on it, the job's never done. So it's okay to move on to the next thing and have something be unfinished, because you're leaving it better than you found it. I used to feel like, okay, this isn't completely fixed, or it's not completely implemented, or whatever the dynamic, either a situation with a kid and trying to help them, or a program that you're implementing, or just overall culture understanding, right? Like when I was in one building, it was like continuing to try to help the teachers understand, I know I'm taking them out of class, but guess what? They're not learning anything anyway because they're so bogged down with all their stuff. So give them to me and I'll help them with their stuff, and then they will come back to class and maybe learn a little bit. Like the physical presence of them doesn't mean they're learning. And so stop, that battle with other educators. But I've had to really, I'm leaving it better than I found it, just because it's not completely fixed or on, A+++, doesn't mean I didn't do my job well. And I think that that's a big thing that I still have to remind myself. Like, just because it's not perfect, and I don't really love that word anyway, but just because it's not perfect doesn't mean I haven't done a good job. And just because it's not done doesn't mean I haven't had an impact.
So I guess it's my turn. I would say some of the things that I've learned, just a couple are, one is you can't pour from an empty cup. And it is important for us to, of all the roles that I have, I'm a woman first. And so me, the person, needs to be filled, and I need to take that time for me, and kind of to Catherine's point, not feel guilty about it, but being intentional about taking time for me so that I can show up as my best self. Another lesson is I'm not for everybody. And that's so.
I like you, but keep going. I like you. Go ahead.
And that's okay, right? Like I feel like we all go through things in life as part of our ministry, whether we're calling it ministry or calling our purpose or our calling, right? And there is somebody that in this world that only I can touch, only you can touch, only Amanda or only Catherine can touch, right? Because they need something different. I feel like it's important and very valuable for people to realize, like, you don't necessarily have to be all things for all men. Like, you're not going to be for everybody. I have a very strong personality, and I'm from Connecticut. I'm very direct, right? And so you don't have to guess. I don't know if I'm saying this.
No, you're good, because I like.
You don't have to.
Like
You don't. You typically don't have. With me, you typically don't have to guess whether or not, like, how I feel about you, right? So, yeah, right? There's really no guessing, because you'll know in one way or another. I'm going to be honest, that is something I'm working on, because I don't feel like people have to feel uncomfortable. But I also am very humble in the fact, like, if I like you or don't like you, like, your life is not going to change, right? Like, what's for you still for you. Like, don't worry about me. But I am very much aware of the fact that I'm not for everybody, and I'm okay with that. I'm not going to get along for everybody. I'm not going to be able to touch everybody. Like, everybody is not my assignment.
Yeah.
So that is super important. What, Amanda? What you about to say?
I have to take that word "typically" out of your statement. Consistently, people are going to know pretty much where they stand with you. But that does not affect your professional relationships. And that's one thing that I admire. You can be you can be real, you can be authentic, but you're still going to show up professionally. Absolutely. You're still going to get the job done, even if you have to work along somebody that's not your cup of tea. And I think that's okay. We got a pep talker sometimes before we walk into some places, but that's okay. That's what we're here for. That's what a team is here for. And one thing that I can say, nobody in Chesterfield County is brave enough to try to triangulize our team. Nobody in Chesterfield County is brave enough to try to split us. It has never happened. At least not on my accord. It has never happened. It's no backdooring. No coming to me, feeling comfortable to come to me about one of them. No.
Yeah, I love it. Unity and having each other's back. I love it. We're almost done, but I have a few more questions. Well, one question, and then the last part of our show. When it comes to mental health, I was in a group chat. I'm sure you guys have group chats with some of my boys, and there was an episode. I'm a podcaster, so I like different podcasts that fit my interests and my needs mentally and spiritually. So I was watching one, and it had Michael Beasley on, ex-NBA basketball player who had a lot of trauma growing up. He talked about how he was used and left behind by many AAU coaches and other coaches for his basketball talent, but they didn't address some of his homelessness and his mental health. And he was on a show. He's from PG County, Maryland, up here in the DMV. And he was talking about his bond and friendship with Kevin Durant, who's also from the same area. And they grew up together. And he was talking about not getting his mental health needs met. And the one thing I text my group chat, because they were in there, they all saw it. It was a very powerful episode. And they were like, hey, man, if y'all ever need anything from me, I'm here for you. Everybody was in that euphoric state. Like, man, take care of yourself, go see somebody. I was proud to see it, but then I kind of gave a different perspective. I said, as someone that works in this field, I typed in the group chat, you got to want to get help. Mm-hmm. You can always say, hey, like Kanye needs help. Kanye's got to get help. You got to want the help. So with mental health, as we talked about, we are in a state of, there are a lot more resources now, more people, celebrities speaking out, even to the point, this is for a different episode, you got a few fake life coaches and table talks that are trying to monopolize. I get mad with these fake life coaches, and everybody just got books now. But with that being said, us four and others like us are in this game for the right reasons. And yeah, we want to be paid, but we also want to help. Mm-hmm. How do you get and encourage and motivate people to understand we're here to help and this is for your benefit? Because it's different when you're sick. Okay, I'll take this medication. I'll take this pill, this injection or whatever, right? But with mental health, it's one of those things, if it's not the stigma, it's the generational curses, the dysfunction, the misconceptions. How do you three professionals help inspire, motivate, engage? Because people need to hear the benefits of taking care of your mental health, but also what do y'all do? Go ahead, Cal.
So, I mean, you use an example that I do use a lot with their physical health, right? Like sometimes when parents are stuck, I say, if we called you and told you your kid's leg was broken, you would rush up here, you would take them where they need to go, you would get it x-rayed, you get it checked, whatever needs to happen, and then you would let, they get a cast, they get a boot, they get crutches, they get a wheelchair, whatever they need to heal, you would make happen, right? And they agree, right? They're not going to really say they wouldn't. But then I equate it to their mental health. They're emotionally broken. Taking them to a crisis unit or taking them to be evaluated is getting an x-ray for their emotions. Getting a boot, a cast, is getting counseling for their emotions. You don't need it forever. Mm-hmm. You need it temporarily to heal the wound that's broken. And then when they feel stronger and they can walk on it again, they can use their emotions again, then you take that support away. And then if they start to falter, you put it back in place. And so I try to give something tangible for them to hold on to as to why we're asking them to do the step that we're asking them to do. Because I think the biggest part of why mental health stigma exists is because you can't see it. You see it in the behaviors, and the behaviors are scary, right? When somebody's having a mental health crisis, it is scary. Because they're either so shut down you can't get anything out of them, and you don't understand, and you can't see it, and you can't understand it. Or it's big, right? Big freaking out, big events happen around it, and it's scary, and you don't know what to do. So when that event is over, I try to normalize, like, you would go help your kid after a physical crisis, so why are we not helping them after an emotional crisis? Adults too. It's true for everybody, but I think in my role, I'm usually talking to adults more than I am about their kids than I am about themselves. So that's what I use. And then when I'm talking to adults, like the teachers, the other school faculty and staff that work with the kids, sometimes I say, do you think the kid chose to be in this situation? Like, do you think the kid woke up this morning and said, I'm going to come be a jerk at school and have all these big behaviors and have all these people watching me and judging me and talking about me and feeling really crappy on the inside, and then having all these adults shame me and make me feel worse for feeling the way that I feel? How is that helping? Like, let's stop and think about the things that we would not want to happen to us. Do you want to stand in front of a faculty meeting or sit in front of a faculty meeting and have your boss be like, what's up with you today? You're kind of acting, and call all your stuff out. Like, why do you think a kid wants that to happen in front of their peers in a classroom? Or why do you think you getting angry with them is going to motivate them to not feel what they feel? It doesn't work that way. So there's a balance of, like, how can I help you understand what's really going on, because there's a disconnect, but then also reminding you they're not choosing to have mental health issues. They're either there because it's genetic, it's something like bipolar or something clinical, or they've had chronic or acute trauma happen and they haven't healed from it, right? The brain takes a long time to heal. If anything we learn, football, right? Like concussions, like we're learning so much about things that we pushed athletes back into their sport too soon after concussions, and the brain wasn't healed. So if the bruise of a concussion takes that long to heal, how long do you think emotional trauma takes to heal when it's been consistent for years and years and years and years. So it's just continuing the conversation to try to help them put themselves on the other side. Amanda talked about being on the other side of the table, how to bring them on your side of the table and look at it from the way that you're looking at it so that they can be part of the solution instead of part of the problem.
Yeah, well said. Facts. Yeah.
You're welcome.
I'll bring out my social work lens again. Persuasion is one hell of a thing, right? But for me, persuasion starts with you. Are you modeling? Are you living? I show up as me in therapy, or if I'm in the grocery store, or if I'm with my family. I don't curse people out in therapy, but sometimes my family might get a little bit of However, I will say this: normalize. It's just a conversation. The other clinical stuff is up to us. It's happening in our head. We're the ones that's trained to be able to retain the information and then make it clinical after we see them. When you go to the doctor does not use medical terms with you. They ask you what's wrong. Where does it hurt? How long has it been happening? And they tell you, this is what I'm going to give you. Hey, this medicine is going to do this. This is how long I want you to take it. Da, 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 da. Their note looks a whole lot different. Same thing for us. Just show up and normalize it through a conversation. That's one of my taglines. It's just a conversation. Leave the rest to me. But for us here in this space, it's just a conversation. A lot of the times when I'm responding to schools, especially in our signs of suicide programming that we do, I often start to talk to students about, have you ever thought about therapy or had a therapist? Most of them say no. And I'm like, okay, why not? Tell me what you're thinking in this moment. And they're like, it's weird. I don't know. And I'm like, can I tell you something? The same way we just talked and sat and had a conversation in these brief 20 minutes, that's what therapy is. And then I might show them my therapist badge of, outside of this, when I leave here, this is exactly what I'm going to do as a therapist. So you just had a mini therapy session in a sense. And to normalize it in that aspect really helps open their eyes. I was talking to my brother last night, and I'm like, the same way we having this conversation, this is how your therapist should talk to you, or what therapy should feel like. If it doesn't feel comfortable, know that it's okay to fire that person. Move on to the next. Everything going to work if you're not comfortable. And so move on to the next and know that it's normal. Therapists aren't going to be hurt or offended. It's normal, and it's okay if it takes a couple of different ones to find your right fit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think kind of to Amanda's point, just normalizing it. Like for me, I take that little tool out of Catherine's box. Sometimes if we're talking to parents who are reluctant about, comparing the physical and mental health. But for me, it's big on, I always kind of tell my daughter business. I'm like, my daughter's in therapy. This was before I was in therapy. I think normalizing it and just giving enough, sharing an experience in a way that your therapist might have helped you, which might be something small, like, oh, you talked to your therapist about that? Yeah, but this is the insight I gained. So it's really just, for me, normalizing it and taking away the weirdness of it, because for whatever reason, I'm not going to lay on no couch. Come on, first of all, you can sit on your couch and look at a computer, whatever you need, and just meeting them where they are, honestly.
And if I could add from the therapist aspect, I think we've been taught and trained to keep our lives totally separate. I think in today's time, though, you do have to give your potential clients, patients, whatever you want to call it, a little bit of you, whether that be having a business page or having something on a social media platform where they can look at you and see you as a human they can be comfortable with. Yes, boundaries are always going to be super important, but I'm sharing on my social media pages, my business pages, what I just did at that mental health resource fair. Right now on my social media pages, I'm posting 31 days of interviewing a Black man on their take on how they take care of their mental health or apply mental wellness in their lives. I want you to see it. People from different backgrounds, they do different work. Some went to school, some didn't, different careers. I want you to be able to see that. And I also want to be able to say, oh, that's my friend. I know them personally. Mm-hmm. Oh, I have a relationship with them. And beyond their title, they're a regular person. And they normalize this. So from the therapist perspective, normalize yourself as a human first a little bit, please.
I agree. I actually am the same way. I'm an open book. I don't, there's boundaries, but I'm very transparent. I feel like that's been able to aid me for decades in this field of connecting with my clients and the families I serve and help, because they're like, yeah, Vic or Mr. Vic, depending on the role I have, is cool and he's relatable, but he also understands, and he also had this happen to him. I think that's important. And everyone's not comfortable with it. So some clinicians, that's fine. I like that style, the humanistic style, the relatable approach. Speaking of this, this is the last portion of our show. We've come to the end. So we're not going to, you guys have shared so many great insight. I didn't get to one question I wanted to ask y'all. So what we're going to do, instead of doing this question, I want to end the show with shout outs. We just did a wellness fair, Spring into Wellness. You three did it, put everything together. I just showed up and I was one of the speakers. You guys treated me so well. Let me tell you too, I meant to tell y'all this. Thank you. First, in all the 30 years I've done events with Norfolk State, Howard, Penn State, Virginia Tech, my alma mater. First time ever I went to an event and I had a parking space blocked off. I took a picture. I said, man, these ladies are professional. I was like, yo, I took a picture and put it on Snap, my Instagram story, and my Facebook. I said, first class in the 804. I was late. I had to go to the bathroom and everything. I was like, yo, is that like home? It was like, man, professionalism personified by you three. Thank you. I don't know whose idea, but I'm telling you, I was like, because when you get somewhere, I'm trying to, it's back here. Okay, I'm driving, turn down the music, and I'm like, wait a minute. Oh, man. Oh, I was like, what? And it said Dwight Vick. I said, the cone, and it didn't blow off or nothing. I'm like, man, I feel very important. So anyway, but with that being said, thank y'all for doing that. But on a fun, serious moment, I didn't talk to you guys about people that have been part of, Amanda, you mentioned your mom, but I want you guys, ladies, to take a few moments to highlight, shout out anybody that's, been an integral part of your journey so far, or even somebody you want to shout out right now over the last few months that's helped you or done something, you want to recognize them. You mentioned your mom, Amanda, but anybody, it could be a partner, a husband, a colleague. I know you guys, I like the Charlie Angels thing, I'm trying to figure out which one is who. I don't know if, who's who, whatever. But
I don't think we've ever gone that deep on that. We probably change roles too. Like this week, one of us is one, and the next week it's the other one. So
yeah. Well, yeah, and that's good. The energy's there. But is there, Amanda, you can go first. Just somebody you want to shout out, recognize, maybe someone that helped you with the Spring into Wellness Fair, or someone that you work with at a particular school, or just a colleague, a professor, somebody you want to shout out just to recognize when I run this.
Yes. First and foremost, God. Could not do any of this without him. Second, though, Renata Hedrington Jones. She is a former professor of mine, but that is my girl. And she showed up and she showed herself with love first, and then a professor second. So I'd like to give her a shout out. She has been with me 12, 13 years since undergraduate when I met her. I still can go to her home. I still call and FaceTime her. She calls my husband all the things. She did the speech at our wedding, the toast at our wedding.
Nice.
And she is the national president of the National Association of Black Social Workers. And so I would like to highlight and honor my girl. I love you, Dr. Jones. You are one of a kind.
I love that. Wow. Shout out to her. Outstanding. Man. Important people.
I could go next because y'all about to do a lot up here. Okay. So I want, and I'm going to speak from the fair perspective. I want to give a shout out. Let me go back. God for sure, because if it weren't for him, you know, he keeps the mind, keeps all the things flowing. Nothing without him. I want to say second, I'm going to start with the second, our FACE department. So that is the department that Kim works for, our family and community engagement, because they help us out greatly. Unfortunately, we have all these needs. You know, I know we talked about COVID. During COVID, there was a lot of extra money for resources, but we typically don't have funds to do these types of things. So last year was the first year that we did it for families, and we actually connected with FACE. So their connections are tremendous, right? It's been a great help. It's been a joy and a pleasure working with them. That's Amy, just to shout them out. Amy, Catherine, or Kat, Ken, and Juan. Working with their team is phenomenal. But first and foremost, I want to say this fair is happening, and these things started because of Amanda. Because when Catherine and I both have school backgrounds, like we've worked in public education. She did not. So it was a learning curve. Ton of attitudes and questions about, I don't understand why y'all doing this like this. This don't make sense, but not understanding the school side. But when we started putting on fairs, although we started with doing it for school-based mental health staff, so all of our psych, social workers, school counselors, and we did it during the day, and they were able to leave school and come. It was definitely Amanda's idea to make the connection with the community resources and the school side. And so it's been a blessing to be able to connect people with the actual agency. So yes, we have a list of community resources, but now they're able to put faces with names. They're able to ask them specific questions about criteria or services provided and things like that. And then this one that you just attended was our second one for families. And again, it was a great event, but just the whole concept of the mental health fair in whatever capacity, whether for our school staff or the parents, definitely was birthed from Amanda coming on with that, more of that community focus and lens.
Well said. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, and it was a great event. When y'all are doing the next one? Next year? Later this year or winter?
Hey, whoa.
Oh, okay.
Talk about that. We got to figure that one out.
Stay tuned.
All right. Okay, stay tuned.
Anticipation.
We've always done it for, well, always 2 years, May, because of Mental Health Awareness Month. But, you know, there's probably we're playing with the time of year to see if there's a better way to get families, because this is a busy point, you know, school's winding down, graduations, all those things, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So,
no doubt.
Wow. I mean, it's hard to like come down to
That's
one or two people. I mean, so I think I'm going to do a double shout out. So like professionally, these two, like we don't compare each other and like I got more going on in my life than you or whatever, but I think that they are super understanding and supportive of the fact that I have 4 kids at home and that, you know, my day starts at 4:30 and doesn't end till 10. So the fact that grace is there to just be a mom, be a good mom, right? Because that's really important to me too. And then Kiana already hit a big piece of our professional, but we have other people on our team. Like you mentioned the DJ, Dwight, like he's a principal at one of our elementary schools.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, he was
Shout out to
cooking.
Rashad Johnson.
Right. And
He
so
was cooking.
Rashad Johnson, he is the principal at Falling Creek Elementary.
Carmen, our photographer.
Carmen is our equity coordinator, and then all
Our
of the other. What? You're talking over me. I can't hear you at the same time.
What did you say, Kiana?
Our supervisor.
Right. So we have the forecourt. So our supervisor, Audra, who lets us just do what do you need from me? Okay. And here's what I can help support. But then the other coordinators, Laura Orley, Tanisha Giles, Heather, who oversee our social workers and our nurses and our psychologists, they all just come help. Like, they just come and say, what do you need? And then they do it. Like, there's nothing to it. So we love having that community piece, even though it's an internal community, right? So sharing those resources. And then I think for me, I have a lot of people, like mentors and other people that have come and gone out of my life that have helped me get where I am professionally. But I think that my husband is a huge support for me. He is he tells me, go save the world. And
are you about to
I am. I'm getting teary. Why am I getting teary?
Girl.
So, I mean, I think of my professional journey, like when I was in classes and he held down, I got my LPC and I did all of the classes I needed, my 4,000 hour residency. I did all of that while we had kids, and we have little kids. So, he was holding down the fort when I was going and doing my supervision, or I had to do an extra class or whatever. And he's always made it possible for me to do what I'm passionate about and what I'm good at. And he's never been like, you have to do something that makes a lot of money or whatever. Like, he's good at his job and he likes his job, but he does that so I can do what I do.
Yeah. And it seems like you all three are doing a great job. Not a good job, but a great job. And I'm very honored to have all three of you on. This has been a great episode. You three women have dropped some amazing insights, some bars, as the kids say. It's a hip hop lyrical reference, but seriously, you guys have dropped some knowledge, some bars, but also I'm inspired by you three of just all the great things you're doing in Chesterfield and beyond. And I know this won't be the last time we engage. And I hope those watching, make sure you support the mental health support staff in your community. And it's not a bad thing to get help. It's a good thing, as Catherine, Amanda, and Kiana touched on. And I speak for so many people when I say thank you, ladies, for everything you do. Sometimes it's a thankless job, and sometimes you see the fruits of your labor years from now. So I'm saying that right now, thank you. I'm giving you your flowers. And that's why I wanted to have you on my platform, to make sure we talked about the importance of mental health awareness, also things you can do to support yourself, to get the help you need mentally, physically, and even spiritually. So I learned something today, and I appreciate everyone that tuned into this episode. And also, like I say every episode, make sure you continue to subscribe and you support people, the heroes and the loved ones in your community. Make sure you also get the help you need in the right way from the right people. I also say every episode, on behalf of Kiana Jones, Catherine Ogletree, and Amanda Whitlow, we say thank you for watching. To my Vicktory Life Movement people, thank you for subscribing. Continue to like and share this episode. We're on YouTube, X, aka Twitter, and Facebook, and Instagram. So we appreciate y'all. And LinkedIn. So we appreciate y'all. Yes. And I appreciate you three once again. Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed myself. It was a great environment. So final thought, final point is, no matter where you go, like I say every episode, no matter where you go, no matter what you do, make sure you have a positive impact and you leave a great legacy. I'm Dwight Vick, host and founder of Vicktory Life. Thank you. Take care.